Let's get ready to rumble. Feel the fires into the red. It's nice and only know how to win. The stage is fighting, we're breaking you too. You will feel always power. The white people will make contest the will of brand is there. In the back of your head, yeah, you feel the floor again. Unleashing his hell, you will not even hear the bell. Maybe you're strong, but you don't stand a chance. Feel the power of a warrior. Fight, 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 fight. Let's get ready to rumble. Fight, 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 fight. Breaking your bones. Born a warrior with a code. I jam your finger in your face with a fist. You will feel always power. The wacky warrior make contest the will of plan is made. In the back of your head, yeah, you feel the flow again. Unleashing his hell, you will not even hear the bell. Maybe you're strong, but you don't stand a chance. Feel the power of a warrior. Fight, 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 fight. Let's get ready to rumble. Fight, 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 fight. A gladiator's left and hold. Fight, 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 fight. Feel the pain tomorrow. Behold, here comes the soul. Believe that you was born to be the chosen one. The call is for a warrior. His name will echo on the sea and on the cloud. Feel the fires into the rear. It's nice and only know how to win. The stage is fighting, we're breaking you too. You will feel always power. The wacky warrior make contest the will of plan is made. In the back of your head, yeah, you feel the floor again. Unleashing his hell, you will not even hear the bell. Maybe you're strong, but you don't stand a chance. Feel the power of a warrior. Fight, 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 fight. Let's get ready to rumble. Fight, 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 fight. A gladiator's left and hold. Fight, 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 fight. Feel the pain tomorrow. Behold, here comes the soul. Believe that he was born to be the chosen one. The call is for a warrior. His name will echo on the sea and on the cloud. Let's get ready to rumble.
Well, after the long wait, the day has finally arrived. The 2018 UFL regular season is finally in the books as we now look at the final regular season standings. So as we look at it right now, in the Eastern Midwest sits the Minnesota Tundra, number 1 once again at 13-2-1. St. Louis Rockets, number 2 once again at 5-9-7. Number 3 is the Indiana Brewers at 7-9. And last is the Detroit Drivers at 3-13. In Eastern Golf, the Miami Sharks won the division and have the number 1 record in the league at 14-1-1. They will host the title game, which I'll get to that later. Tampa Bay Cyclones, the best team last year, fell off a cliff this year as they went 6-9-1. Then the Memphis Warhawks are third at 6-10, and last was the Houston Bullets at 5-11. The Eastern Atlantic, the Baltimore Charms snuck into the playoffs this time at 13-3, with the Buffalo Terriers making the playoffs for the first time ever at 12-4. Washington Colts fell off a cliff this year, finished 5-11, and the Pittsburgh Titans finished fourth once again at 4-12. The Eastern Pacific, you had the Utah Eagles this time win the division after being a terrible team last year at 10-6. Seattle Cougars were second at 9-7. This time they missed the playoffs. Anaheim Rockies finished 6-9-1 in the third seed. And the Oakland Magic, the winner of the division last year, 12-4, finished 5-11 this year. Talk about a regression. Meanwhile, in the Western Conference, in the Western Midwest, Kansas Engineers lead that division at 12-4. Then it's the second seed Green Bay Comets at 8-8. Then followed by division champ last year, Cincinnati Wolves falling off and finishing 7-9. And then last is the Canton Greats. Once again, they finished 7-9 as well. Then in the Western Golf, the Jackson Boxers won the division this year at 10-6. Followed by the Columbia Marines, once again making the playoffs, this time as a wild card team at 9-7 back-to-back. And the Atlanta Suns made the playoffs for the first time ever at 9-7. Followed by the New Orleans Sharks finishing their very disastrous year at 4-11-1. In the Western Atlantic, the Boston Cruisers win the Western Atlantic at 10-6. The Philadelphia Pythons, oh my god! They finished 8-8 after winning the title game last year. And they were a much better team than that. They just kept blowing games that they should not have blew, including losing 3 in a row to end the year. The New York Kings finished 8-8. And then last is the Montreal Quebecs at 4-12. Nice improvement from last year. Meanwhile, in the Western Pacific, the Los Angeles Stars had the number one record in the conference at 13-3. Then it's the Lubbock Pilots. Oh my god! They've lost 5 in a row to finish the year at 8-8, regression from last year. And then the Denver Talons regressed to finish 8-8. So much for making the conference championship last year. And then the Phoenix Dust Devils end up having the worst record in the league as they finished 1-14-1. So, of course, as you can see, the playoff seedings right there. In the Eastern Conference, the Miami Zombies are number 1, followed by the Minnesota Tundra, then the Baltimore Bashers, then the Utah Eagles, then the Buffalo Terriers, and then finally the St. Louis Rockets. Meanwhile, in the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Stars are number 1, followed by the Kansas Engineers, then the Jackson Boxers, then the Boston Cruisers, then the Columbia Marines, and the Atlanta Suns to be the wildcard teams there. Now, of course, as you know, it's not like the NFL or PFA. The team with the number 1 record in the league actually gets the right to host a title game. But, of course, with all these teams in there, who has the order again? You're probably wondering. Well, here is the order. So here is the title game order of who can host it. Like I said earlier, the Miami Zombies have the right to host as the best record in the league. If they don't make it to the title game, then the Minnesota Tundra have the right to host instead at 13-2-1. Then after that, it's the Los Angeles Stars that get the third seed because they have the better seed and over Baltimore. Los Angeles is the number 1 seed, whereas Baltimore is the third seed in their conference. So Baltimore is the 4th in that order, followed by the Kansas Engineers, who have the tiebreaker over Buffalo due to better seed because they're the 2nd seed. Buffalo's the 5th seed. Buffalo has the 6th seed. Jackson has the 7th seed due to having a better seed in over Utah, as they're the 3rd seed, and Utah is the 4th seed. And then Utah has the tiebreaker over Boston because they have the better combined rank in terms of score, and so they're 8th. Boston's 9th. Columbia has the better seed in over St. Louis, so they get the 10th seed, and then St. Louis finishes out as the last team that can host a title game. Atlanta cannot host a title game no matter what. They're on the road the entire way. So that's the order of ascension, or descension I should probably say, of the 2018 UFL title game. And here is the schedule for the 2018 UFL wildcard playoffs with a new format this year, with the teams with the lower seeding games play in first instead, so that way it'll guarantee them playing at their best level, since that way they don't know if they're going to host or where they're going to go next week. And this is more obvious in the division and conference championship. So we start off in the wild card round, where it'll be the 5th seeded Columbia Marines visiting the 4th seeded Boston Cruisers. Then after that, it'll be the 5th seeded Buffalo Terriers visiting the 4th seeded Utah Eagles. Then on Sunday would be the 6th-seeded St. Louis Rockets visiting the 3rd-seeded Baltimore Bashers, followed by the 6th-seeded Atlanta Suns visiting the 1st-seeded Jackson Boxers. Then in the division round, it's the number 2-seeded Minnesota Tundra that'll play first, followed by the number 1-seeded Los Angeles Stars hosting whoever. Then it's the number 2-seeded Kansas Engineers. And then finish it off with the number 1-seeded Miami Zombies hosting the final division game. Now the conference games are not set this year because whoever has the number one, the team that can host the title game remain, the best team remain, will be the last conference championship game with the other one being first. So we have to wait and see what happens in the division round before we know what the schedule for the conference championship would be. And finally, the 2018 UFL title game will be whenever we know who's going to be hosting it. So, see you guys hopefully soon for the 2018 UFL playoffs for the wild card round.